Hi, Christy.
Hi, Tyson. Hi, Joni.
Hi, I made it.
Yay! So let me, I gotta rename you Tyson. So you are Tyson.
Not going under my alias, right?
No, no alias for you today. So you guys won't be able to see Julie. She's gonna be the staff support for tourism, but she is in here, but we're in my confined office, so we're not in our normal location.
Right.
And then you got the news that Luke resigned today.
Yeah, I did see that. Yeah, I just heard this afternoon that he got a different job too. So I kind of figured that was coming.
Yeah, and so Julie's gonna be posting the vacancy to fill the one, but if we get 4 people on and get quorum, we can get the like 10 pairs of minutes approved and out of that folder.
Yes. Yeah, that would be awesome because we are, well, we're halfway there.
Yes. So, and then what I'll do, Tyson, if we do get quorum, I'll need you to come in and sign all the minutes. So we can get them into record. So, and I'll have them up at the front counter and you can sign them anytime.
Okay. No, it's a pretty long walk though.
I know. I don't know if you can muster it. I'll probably have Julie tell you when they're ready because I'm going to have her type up these minutes and you might as well do all in one shot. Well, no, that's not true. These minutes will have to go to the next minute meeting to be approved.
Okay.
I'm ahead of myself. Staying busy with the change of weather?
Yeah, I mean, yes and no. We've had some weekends have been good. Weekdays have kind of been hit or miss, but you know, it's starting to unfortunately kind of wind down a little bit, but we'll get there.
Hey, the holidays are coming. They're starting to put the Christmas lights up today because it'll take a while.
I gotta get my, hold on one second here. Christine.
Okay.
Okay, can you, I want to see if I can hear you. How's my volume?
You're perfect for me. Am I too quiet?
No, you're okay. Okay, try that one more time.
How are you, Tyson?
Oh, I'm good. Okay, that's good. We're good. Has anyone talked to Ed?
Well, Amy's been talking to him all day. I did send an email reminder to check their emails. So hopefully. Hi,
Okay.
Miss Linda.
Hi, Linda.
I had to unmute myself. Hi.
One more person and we are gonna have a quorum.
Holy cow.
But Ed, we've got quorum today.
All right.
Good.
I think Jennifer's muted.
Oops.
I am muted. Hello.
There you go.
Hi, Jennifer. Welcome.
Thank you. Nice to meet you all.
Yeah.
We're gonna do a little introduction round once the meeting gets started.
Okay.
We got a lot of new people.
Sounds good.
So is
Okay,
Julie
so
gonna be-
we're at 3:59. We'll give it another couple minutes, see if anyone else jumps on.
Christy, is Julie going to be taking care of the committee from here on out or what?
Yes, she is. She's actually in the room. We're just trapped in my office. So she's taking minutes and off to the side
Cool.
so that Christy no longer will be tourism.
Okay. That's probably a good for you.
Yes, I'll be happy. Although I do enjoy it because Tyson's been pretty hilarious on our alone meetings.
We've had some good, you know,
Dialogue.
pre-meeting meetings.
Yes, pre-meeting meetings. But I still have to be involved with the financials, but
Yeah.
I've got good news on financials this time, so it's good.
Oh, good.
Mhm.
That's great. Jennifer, it's nice to meet you. Or see
Really
you.
nice to be here. I'm so excited. So
Yeah, thank you for stepping up. That's great.
yeah, I just moved here this summer and I was like, I really want to get involved. What does that look like? And then I was on the website looking up like my water bill or something. I'm like, oh, that sounds amazing. So I'm really excited to be here.
There we go. That's how we get people, you know. we
Right?
just-
Yeah.
Water bills.
All right, Tyson.
All right, Brian's jumping on as well. Great.
Tyson, have you been keeping busy this summer?
We've been really busy. I got married July 10th as well. So my life has been quite a whirlwind this year,
Oh my,
but
yeah.
in a good way, So,
Yeah.
but yeah, we've been very busy at the winery. So we're excited about it.
Yeah, it seemed like every time I went by there were certainly plenty of people out on the patio. So
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Brian, can you hear me? I think you're muted there, bud.
I'm here. I'm queuing in. I can hear you just fine. Thank you.
Okay,
You'll see
perfect.
my video shortly.
Well, we're at 4:02, so I think we should call this meeting to order. So I'm going to go through and do a quick roll call. We'll kind of talk and introduce, everyone can kind of go around the horn and introduce themselves. So my name's Tyson Thies, and I'm committee chair now. This is actually the first meeting that I'll be running. So I am present. So we're going to go right down the line. Luke has resigned. So Miss Miralinda Watkins,
hi.
present. All right. Joni Anderson,
Hey, present.
right there. Okay. Jennifer McCormick.
Present.
All right. And that gives us our quorum. And then Christy Martinez, I believe you all know Christy. And then Brian is going to be our, he always tries to jump in meetings when he can because he does all of our social media for the city of Carlton. So he handles Facebook, he handles Twitter, Instagram, those kinds of things. So it's extremely helpful to have Brian on the meetings. He's also involved with many local businesses in the wine industry too. So it's awesome. So with everyone present, yeah, why don't we go through, Joni, just kind of, tell us a little bit about yourself and what got you involved with the tourism committee.
I've lived in Carlton for over 30 years. My husband and I have a wholesale business. I deal with souvenirs and resort items. We sell to everywhere from Alaska, Oregon, and Washington, Multnomah Falls, all the big tourist spots. And
wonderful.
yeah, and so and we have a showroom up in Seattle, so I travel quite a bit. And I also have the gift shop in town, the Violet Rose, with my sister Jamie. But I have been involved off and on. Years ago, I had a business in McMinnville that I was on the county tourism committee. And I thought maybe I could bring to the board. I visit about every town there is and see what they're doing as far as promoting. And anyway, so I thought I would, when I can, it's been kind of a crazy year, devote some time and want to help Carlton.
Awesome. Great. Thank you so much. And Jenny, what about yourself? You said, I've never met you before, and so it's great for you to be on here. And yeah, so.
Yeah, thanks. So as I just mentioned, I moved here a couple months ago, and when we were looking at moving out here, I knew I wanted to get involved in the community somehow. And this lends itself really well to my skill set because I am the director of marketing for Oregon Public Broadcasting, and I have been in marketing for probably longer than I actually want to give a year or two. But before I was at OPB, I worked for state parks, Oregon State Parks, for a really long time. And part of that meant that I was working with Travel Oregon. I worked with them very closely for a number of years. I have been on the board of Travel Salem. And just recently I was on the board of a nonprofit called Oregon Loves Parks, which was also really involved in tourism as part of it supported the state parks and some of the federal lands. So I have a lot of experience. I'm really excited to learn about what you guys are doing. I am incredibly committed to helping out Carlton and just being a part of what you guys have going on. And I'm excited to see how I can help. So
Awesome. Well, that's fantastic. This is a completely revamped committee since I just came on board a few months ago. And with just what I'm hearing, this is all just amazing. So, so thank you all. So moving forward onto the agenda here. So we will need to move to approve revised minutes. So we have to approve minutes for all the meetings that have been, missed, and agendas have been sent out over the past numerous months. So I want to make a motion to approve all those minutes. So with an approval, just say aye. If you approve minutes for past meetings, we're going to move forward with.
Tyson, you'll need to ask for a second, please.
A second. Okay, so there we go. So I move, so I ask for a second to approve minutes, please.
Yep, I can second.
Wonderful. Okay. All right. And
then
moving down,
all those in favor?
all those in favor?
Hi.
Aye.
All right.
Thank you.
Bear with me. This is my first one with an actual quorum. So
And I promise I won't be talking very much after this meeting and you guys get rolling.
all right.
We need guidance, Christie.
Yeah.
Always need guidance.
And then, okay, scrolling over, you'll see on the agenda next here is going to be our fund financial reports, which is not something we need to get in detail with, but it is available for everybody to see during each meeting. So.
And if you wouldn't mind, I can talk about this just a smudge. Just because I want to point out that we had reduced our revenue expectations for tourism committee due to the, we had a 31% FY21 downgrade with COVID. So we budgeted accordingly because with the Delta coming in, and we're already at 31,000 and we only projected revenue at 25,000, which is really good news. Our expenses, though, we have not been spending all except for Brian has been keeping us alive with that's been bound. That's Brian you're seeing on here. He does our social media and he's just keeping our name out there. And the pocket site expense, which you guys only see once a year, but I just found out that we really don't need to do it. There's a freer version. So this will be the last year. We already had paid it. And that we have a historical app. It's called on Pocket Sites that you can load it on your phone and walk around the town and it'll tell you about some historic sites in town. So on that part, and then you'll see over on the right, because this is new for you guys, under the details, it'll show you each month. And the reason you see months with no income or relatively low, they pay their tourism tax to our local in-town businesses every quarter. So typically we have a big bump and you can see that the summer we did really well. In October, we received about 20,000. And we actually received more than that. General fund holds 30%, 70% goes to the tourism fund to attract businesses to town. So that is the tourism's goal, is to bring them to the town. The CBA, Carlton Business Association, is to take care of them when they're in town. We're trying to get them here, get that, drive that off shoulder. And normally I would just tell you anything unusual or make a note. But because this is your first time seeing the financial, I thought I'd touch base a little.
Yes, that's perfect. Thank you, Christy.
You're welcome.
Perfect.
I have a question.
So, yeah.
Oh, go ahead, Linda.
Yeah. When now, right now, we still do the tax, the bed and breakfast taxes as how does the agreement that we made with the state to do the collections on those how's that going to affect what's going on?
So right now, the city is responsible for reaching out to our local bed and breakfast, which we track, and then we do our own internal searches through the Airbnbs. We can tell when people are advertising. The state's going to take over that part and the tracking, and they will send us a check for revenue. In particular, what is also shifted, normally I'll just use Yoka's Place as an example. 2 years ago, she was having to report all of it, but now she runs typically with VRBO and Airbnb. So we get checks from Priceline, HomeAway, all different offshoots, Expedia. So the state is all going to track that and match the revenue. So it's a really good program. We just got the signed IGA over, and we don't have an anticipated start date, but our auditor said out of a lot of cities that Carlton really was on it as far as keeping track. But we're a small town. It's easy for us to find somebody renting in town as compared to McMinnville, you know, constantly having to refresh or something. So it will be turned over to the state to collect, and then they'll give us a check. And you'll still see just the quarterly dates and what we've received from them. But we're very excited. It's a brand new program with the state, and I just think it's nice to have another set of eyes rather than just staff eyes.
Will that also, are we anticipating that it might make it a little bit easier and maybe we'll see some revenue increase on that just because it's more accurate, or?
I don't know if it's going to be easier or more complicated. It's too new. It hasn't been too difficult to staff this or track it or send the letters. We actually bought into a tracking system 3 years ago, and we were better at it than the tracking system just because we know the town. So I'm not sure. That's to be determined, but we'll keep a close eye on it and see if it's a good match.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
Perfect, great. Thanks, Christy.
You're welcome.
So moving forward down our agenda here, everyone, we're going to have Brian just go through the information piece of the social media and exactly what Vinbound has been doing and helping us out with, and just a little quick summary of understanding, kind of how things are looking and how we're trending.
Yeah, so there's obviously many months of social media and website reports. We don't need to go through each one detail by detail, but I'll give you a high level overview to start with. I've been working with the Visit Carlton committee, or they've selected my company, Vinbound, to be the vendor to serve social media and to also serve the Visit Carlton website for at least 5 years now. So I feel like I've been part of this. I'm not technically a voting committee member, but I've been part of this process for a long time. And I think I can bring a lot of perspective as to programs that have worked and things that haven't worked and where we are at today. As it relates to social media, we are active on Facebook and Instagram, and the target is 3 posts a week. Sometimes it goes down to 2, but generally trying to keep right about 3. And I have a big spreadsheet of all the businesses in towns, all the accommodations, all the different possible topics that we could talk about. And I try to cycle through them in an equitable manner. So I'm not trying to focus on one specific business too often or one specific topic. And so each week or every couple of weeks, I kind of come up with, here are the things that are going on in town, or here's a business I haven't featured recently, and really dig through what they might have going on or in sort of specials and push that material. I'm also a photographer and a drone pilot. So a lot of the aerial views that you see around the city are shots that I take myself and then just push directly to Visit Carlton. And then I also constantly monitor anyone who's hashtagging Visit Carlton or Carlton, Oregon. And if it happens to be really great content, I'll reach out on behalf of Visit Carlton and ask them if they're okay with us resharing that content with credit to them, and which almost everyone always is. It's kind of a nice extra touch for visitors to town to feel like they've been recognized and that their picture has been selected. So in all, it's always about wanting to get people here and putting Carlton on the map, and where is Carlton? So anytime I have the chance to say, 50 minutes or 45 minutes or an hour from Portland, depending on how much I want to bend that truth in that particular day, that's what I will put out there most of the time. An easy drive from Portland through the country. And
That
so,
is true. That
yeah,
can
it is
be
true. So where are we, right? So where are we located? What is Carlton? That always continues to be a big portion of what this committee should be. Is a lot of people in Portland don't know what Carlton means. They don't really know even a lot of times what McMinnville means, surprisingly. So how do you get people to come out here in the first place, or to at least know where it is on a map and be excited to spend a weekend out here? when it's, once people have done it once, they love it. And I think that we're seeing that momentum growing over the years, but there's still a lot of work that we can do as a committee. So regular social media posts are happening, and the website itself, visitcarlton.com, I developed and tried to keep up to date with any tasting rooms or any accommodations, restaurants, and so on. So I'm always trying to stay on top of that. The last element to this is if the committee decides to do any sort of digital marketing promotion, meaning paid promotions on Instagram or Facebook, I would be the one that would push that out. And then would it be included in what is billed to the city at the end of that particular month? So it's just a matter of the committee saying, okay, we have budget to be doing advertising. This is what the general message is. This is what we want it to, the landing page should be. Brian, you do it. In which case I do it. So that's kind of my role. And you can see kind of the quality of what I've been doing through the reports, and happy to take any questions or guidance, or if I'm missing any topics, let me know. I'm all ears.
Awesome. Thank you, Brian. Right now, I see we're through September here.
Yeah, it looks like they didn't add a October, but the October has been submitted to the city. So you'll see that probably in the next report.
That's correct.
Okay. Awesome. Perfect. Perfect. And then just a little background for everybody who's new. We had talked about how to prior, the tourism committee had talked about what we should be focusing on, if that should be Facebook more, Instagram, or half and half, that sort of thing. Right now, I believe we're splitting the two, Brian, is that right?
Yes. Right.
Okay. And, the thought was, last time this was brought up was, we're getting to the slower part of the season now. So focusing our efforts and just kind of really brainstorming over the next few meetings, what the best way to allocate those funds are going to be come spring to make a push once everything starts to ramp up again. Right. So, obviously, Joni, you've been in town for a long time, so you understand, the seasonality of Carlton. And, Jenny, you've been doing marketing forever. So, anything you guys have or think about in regards to that over the next few meetings, I would love to talk about. Obviously we have some time here because we're just in November, but just something to kind of keep in the back of everyone's mind as we move forward. So with that, moving on to the next section here. So emails, does everybody, I assume, have all of their city emails set up and ready to go?
I don't think I have yet, but I will.
Okay, perfect. And Christy, have you set that up and sent it over or not yet?
Yes, she's got it. She's got,
okay.
And if she has any problems, I can help her get going with our IT.
Okay.
And then I just want to touch base. This is a requirement by our city attorney, just for you guys to know that this committee is governed and watched over by the state through ORS, and it's definitely a public. Anything that we do is public. So that if that helps guide you, I know it's hard to have two emails. I have two phones, which I don't like, but we have to keep personal and public separate.
So with that being said, we've kind of had a little bit of a mishmash in the past of some people responding with personal emails or reaching out with. So what I would love to do moving forward is if, any city information or any information regarding meetings from Christy or myself is all going to come through city email. So I just encourage everybody to make sure we're checking that on a regular basis, just because that's where all of that communication is going to come from moving forward. It's just the best way to keep it streamlined. And obviously we'll have to have this conversation as others join and jump on who couldn't make it today again. So bear with me, in regards to that, but I just wanted to make sure that everybody is on the same page.
Tyson, question on that, or maybe it's better for Christy. Is there one central area where we can always see the tourism committee member emails? So everyone knows, like, okay, I need to have a group email that goes out, or I have like an email that comes through to the Visit Carlton email and I need to forward that on. Is there a way that I can easily access everyone's emails?
Well, that's a great, I have a roster inside internally, but I was just thinking we should put it on the tourism webpage on the website I'll have Julie get started on that and create a members page. And that way you guys can always touch base or know how to get a hold of each other. You'll see it in the email string also. Oh no, because it's blind copied. Oh,
Right.
Speaking of that, when you are emailing, you have to put the members in blind copy.
Oh.
And the reason is you create a serial meeting, which is against public record. You have to put it in blind copy, because if you hit a reply all accidentally, you've created a meeting that the public's not aware and could not attend. So all these meetings you have to leave open for the public. And so you can't talk outside of a meeting session in quorum. So make sure if you're sending out something to the members, it's in the blind copy so they can't reply all and create a serial meeting. And I know this is kind of new for people who are not used to the government thing, but they're very particular and a lot of cities get in trouble for that. So that's kind of a trick of the trade. But I will put, Julie's going to create a members page, a tourism. In fact, I just think it would be nice to kind of beef up the tourism page now that we're reinvigorated. So if you guys have an idea, shoot them to Julie and we'll build that up. But thank you for bringing that up. That's a great idea.
Yeah, absolutely. I wasn't aware of that myself with the in aspects of blind copy. So yes, thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We are cruising here. So moving on. So actually to piggyback off that, how does this time work for everybody? Wednesdays at 4 p.m. Is that gonna be, something that's going to be consistently attended by everyone, or do we need to and I know we don't have everybody on today, so we may need to kind of still revisit this again once everybody does come aboard. But I would just love that consistency of having the same day and time every month. So, how does this fare for who's on right now?
It's fine for me.
Okay.
It's good for me.
Snuffles seems to think it's okay for him.
And it works well for staff, because to bring staff in after hours for additional meetings. So this is a nice time.
Okay.
It should be fine. My schedule's always, but it should be fine.
Okay. All right. Perfect. Good. Thank you. Well, we'll continue this then. We'll plan on the first Wednesday, if possible, 4 p.m. of every month. And with that being said, if anybody has schedule conflicts, please try to reach out and let us know ahead of time, because then I can reach out and try to make sure other members will be on if certain won't. And if we decide we won't have quorum in advance, then we could make an exception and switch that month's meeting and that sort of thing. Just to keep this going, because one of the big keys here is once we have consistent quorum, we can get a lot more done than if we don't. So I definitely appreciate that communication. Moving forward on to our next topic here, certified folder advertising. So we have what are called rack cards that, as you can see in the text here, are in 8 state welcome centers, Portland, West Metro hotels, and visitor attractions. So you've all seen these when you walk into different places, and there's all the cards that you can grab from of local attractions. So these brochures we've been doing for quite a long time, and all of the financials are right here. We're out of rack cards, and it's 15,000 that go out. And it'd be $569 plus a renewal fee of $1,866.60. So we can kind of talk about that, how we feel about that, and then move forward with a motion if necessary here. So in my mind, I think for consistency, for the low cost and how much we really haven't been digging into the budget as much this year, I do think these are great to have. In the past, we have talked about, and this is a few months ago now, this is where definitely, Jenny, I'd love your input as well. If you look forward in the packet, you can see what they look like with the Visit Carlton logo, Wine Capital of Oregon. We had talked about revamping that to make it a bit more attractive, because you can only see the top half of it when it's in the rack. So I would just love to get everyone's thoughts on if you like the idea of redoing it, or I should say renewing it, and then potentially reinvigorating, the aesthetic of the brochure.
Question.
Mhm.
When these have been printed in the past, how long do they usually last? How long does it take to go through 15,000? Does anyone know the answer to that?
It took 2 years for the last batch.
Okay.
So for a total spend, if we average that out,
Mm-hmm.
569 plus 1866, 60 divided by 24 months roughly. We're looking at, it's a cost of about $100, $101, $148, $100 a month to have those, that, you know, widespread. Whereas, so again, we figure how many people are we reaching versus, like, for example, what does $100, Brian, get us in beefed up social media advertising, and how many people, and maybe this is an odd question that isn't something it's easy to answer off the top of your head. What does the reach look like for that same cost? You know, if we were to spend more on social media and not redo the rack cards.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't actually ever, if we have the budget, I wouldn't even try and say this or that. I think print and having it in accommodations is going to hit a different audience necessarily than what we're going to hit on social. I could look at our historic data and tell you, but I don't have a hard number. Like, it's all, every campaign is a little bit different based on the quality of the content we put up there in the first place. My gut is that this is money well spent, but I think that we need to update the visuals on the card. Any city could throw grapes on the front of their card. Any city could throw a map on, and that particular park doesn't exist anymore on the bottom right-hand side. So I think the entire thing needs to be redone.
Oh, that detail. I agree. I think it needs to be redone. I actually think the back is hard to read as well. But yeah, especially if you're only looking at the top half, I think we need an image that really screams Carlton. Like, why do people want to pick this up? What makes it interesting? So, and I think for the money, it's a good deal. Brian, I completely agree with you. I think the people who grab these are different than the social media audience. And I think they're a good reminder for people when they do grab them. So.
You know, my thought was I wasn't thinking in terms of demographics, as which I totally agree. I was just curious as to, you know, for $100 a month, how much more, like, how many more advertisements or that sort of thing does that get us on social media versus, I'm just curious. Because isn't
it kind of comes down to what are we measuring? Are we measuring eyeballs and then they just keep scrolling past, or measuring people that actually are clicking through to go to a landing page? You know,
what do we do? Remember, I'm trying to think back. What did we? I think this was back in May or something. We had talked about, what was it, Brian? It wasn't time. It wasn't extra post, but it was, or maybe Chrissy remembers. Can't think of what it was that we voted on to do to increase in our social media budget, but I can't think back to exactly what that was.
Yeah, okay, I do. So it was in June. What we did was we spent $200 in general Facebook and Instagram advertising, with the goal to drive traffic to the website and to also increase followers. And so what we got from $200 were 104 clicks into the specific landing page that we wanted, and 89 additional followers on Facebook. So it wasn't I wouldn't call that a resounding success, to have just, you know, a bump in clicks and, you know, maybe about 100 additional followers. I think, you know, it's getting more competitive out there to pay for additional followers. I think it really comes back to the content that we're creating is really the key here. And then sometimes if something's going really well, we might put a little money behind it to promote a specific piece of content. But I think diversifying and having print as, you know, a rack card as an example, if we have the budget for it, I think that would be an easy way of getting impressions that is not necessarily as available right off the top with that amount of money on social.
Great. I was just trying to think back of what we had spent that couple $100 on before. So that makes perfect sense. Anybody have any other thoughts before we move on and take it into motion? No?
Oh, I have a question.
Yeah.
Who is the designer, or do we have a designer that we work with? Who would do the art on this?
I think at that time, I'll have to go back and find the vendor. I think the rat card person themselves worked with, I believe, Kathy doing that original design just to get some.
Oh, okay.
And also too, as a side note, for you guys might not know this, I thought this would be a good wine plate grant opportunity, and you,
Yes.
as the meeting didn't have, we couldn't get quorum. I did a fast grant application to see if we could get money just specifically for this, to maybe get a good designer behind the cards.
Oh.
It has not been awarded yet. We asked for 5,000, don't know. But we're hoping that that is going to be successful to beef it up a little bit and give the rat carton some love. So we'll probably, you guys are probably gonna have to look at some designers, pick it. I can, the staff can reach out to the certified folder display and maybe get a list of some designers. Or Brian, I don't know if you know of a couple.
Yeah, I definitely do.
Okay, and then I kind of go from there. I'm hoping they'll announce the awards here pretty quick and have good news to tell you, but it was really fast. I think, was it Tyson, I had one day to try to throw.
Oh, yeah, I think it was like, yeah, it was
It
like the
was
next
like-
day, like, we just have to do it.
Mhm.
Yeah, so, and as just on a sidebar note, there are some grants coming through. So Tyson may have to reach out to you sooner if something comes in, to see if you want to proceed before the next meeting, because we just got one that there's no way we can pull it off. It's due by the 11th or 12th.
Okay.
But anyways, I'm sidetracking. So
No, that's good to know.
yeah, so you guys will land on a designer. The committee will choose, maybe get some examples of their current work. And then you're gonna have to determine what kind of budget. This is gonna be your like first project to do.
Yeah.
The other thing is what you don't know is tourism contributes to the Christmas lights. I'm kind of sidebarring, sorry. And the Christmas lights are gonna start being installed next week. They drew last year a ton of out-of-town residents coming in and getting them to town. And so the CBA is working with the city on, the tree lighting and then hot chocolate. So that might be something good for tourism to push out, because they're contributing on getting that. We've already had a lot of emails. People want to know when those lights are going to be back up. So, which is good for us, but just kind of a heads up for your social media marketing. We've got a really good drone shot of those lights on our Instagram that we could use. But I know I keep talking. Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, that's great. Thank you, Christy. This is good information, because you have the most background information of anyone here. Well, I guess Linda and Brian probably have a fair bit too, but
Yeah.
it's always appreciated here as we kind of move forward and figure this thing out. So, all right. Any other final thoughts? No? Okay. All right. I move to approve the expenditure of the rack cards, the renewal, and the fee, the cost of the cards and the fee. So I move to approve that spend. Do I have a second?
I can second.
All in favor?
Hi.
Hi.
Aye. All right. So we approve that. And then Christy, is this something that you would like me to get involved with, or?
Yeah, so what's going to happen now is I think we'll need to do a reach out to Brian, because we're out of cards, and get a couple of the staff will reach out to certified folder. And then Brian, if you could give Tyson some designer for cards, or if any other committee member knows someone who might have a marketing background, and then get some samples and you will start to prepare that for the next meeting. So everybody has an opportunity to look and review over the material and the cost of the design. You as a committee will be working on that. So that'll be your like homework during this next month before the December meeting.
procedural question on that. Does that go to Tyson's city email?
It goes to Tyson City email.
All right. Good. All right. So in reference back to, I think the conversation earlier that Marilinda and Christy were referencing, our tourism committee's source of tax revenue comes from VRBOs, B&Bs, inns within the city limits. Should Visit Carlton spend advertising dollars on out of town? Okay, so this also has a little bit of background just to catch everyone up, because we do have a couple different wineries and people who have been highlighted on our website and things who are not within city limits, so they don't pay taxes here. And so that's been a point of conversation, and there's not a lot. I think there was, three, Brian, that I can think of, 3 properties.
Yeah, there was exactly Abbey Road Farm and a couple other specific to accommodations. Should an accommodation be ever featured or on the website if they're not paying taxes? Whereas, I oftentimes promote things that are slightly outside of the Carlton city limits, wineries and things, because you come here and you stay here and you might end up going there. But with accommodations, it's fairest to them to have to pay into this program if we're going to be featuring them on the website and promoting them on social. So that's generally where the committee has said, stay the course at least on keeping the website accommodations on intra-city. But we're at a crossroads because I've been actually a number of lodging establishments that are just outside of Carlton with a Carlton, Oregon, it says Carlton, Oregon in their address, but they're technically outside of city limits. They want to be on the website. They want to be featured, and they have indicated that they're willing to pay. The problem is the committee has never created a true pay structure and ratified that and said, great, this is what it's going to be. This is our program. This is how you pay, and so on and so forth. And so we're kind of in this, I don't know what to do with these people.
So what I think, so this is kind of these 2 questions or discussion points kind of tie into one another. So that's the background on what we've kind of talked about. And then now we have the current question, with out of town VRBOs and B&Bs, do we want to put more emphasis on targeting some of those audiences as well? So they're kind of tied in. So with that being said, I personally, when I think about it, I think what is going to bring more people to Carlton. And I think, obviously some of those accommodations and businesses outside do. But at the same time, to Brian's point, should they have to pay for it? How do we come up with that? So, any thoughts are completely welcomed. I mean, we've been operating for a very long time without charging them anything, and as far as costs associated, I find it hard to determine how much we're going to get. How do you measure what you get from each different business? So to me, I think it's got to be just a flat fixed cost. If we decide to do it, like you have to pay this amount for that specific tax year and you're in. Otherwise, I don't know how unless I don't know how else to measure it and charge people accordingly if it's not just a flat rate. So
we kind of
again,
said too, we could find an average number, some certain accommodations pay a lot more than other ones. And so you could find something that's right down the line, or even divide it out by literally every room in an accommodation. You could probably figure out the math for how much that would equate to over a year. And if you have an accommodation with 3 rooms that you're actively booking out, then you just do the math on that and figure it out. So I'm sure that there's an equation here.
Yeah, I agree. I also think that from a consumer perspective, when they're looking at visiting Carlton, they don't care what is in the city limits and what is not. And I think that offering them as many options as possible just serves the audience better, which will in turn serve Carlton better. I do like the idea of charging them. I think that should definitely be part of that. Brian, I like your idea about an equation. But I am on board for that, for charging them and opening that up. It also would be maybe an interesting revenue source. So
I agree.
Okay, so as far as the list, Brian, can you generate all the list of all the places that we would be,
Yeah, I can pull
you
that
know,
together.
having to reach out to, and
There's
then
probably
have-
about 10 that are pretty nearby, and half of them have signaled interest at least some point in the last year. I monitor the Visit Carlton email address and forward things onto the city, and we definitely, even in the last month or two, have gotten a couple that have come through, and they're just asking that same question. And I just say, you know, I reply and say, as soon as the committee has something, we'll reach out to you. So we're actually in a good, this is a great time of year to figure this out, because we could say starting Jan 1, this is the new operation. It's going to be this much for this year. And we put that together. So what do we need to do then to, by next meeting, ratify this? Like, do we just need to do, I need to come with a list of who we're going to approach this with, but I guess we also need to figure out the actual dollar amount, right?
Yeah, so I think for this meeting, you know, we'll make a motion toward this here, and then, you know, have the committee approve or disapprove of charging these folks, number one. And then I think, depending on, you know, if it gets approved here, then next time around, when we all convene next month, I think we would need a list of all those businesses. And then if, you know, everybody could have their thoughts collected on how we should charge them, and then we can vote on that next meeting, if that sounds good to everyone.
Yeah.
So, all right, I move that we do charge accommodations outside of the city of Carlton for being featured on our website. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Hi.
Okay, so we are approving. We're approving to charge these folks outside the city who are getting the benefit of advertising on our website. And as I just said, if we could collect thoughts on some ideas for charging, and then we'll collaborate on that next meeting and vote on that, that'll be awesome. And Brian, if you just get us the lists, you know.
Yeah, I can get the list. And Christy, you know, do you have a rundown of what the existing TRT tax breakdown is? Is it a set percentage, or
It's
what?
7%.
It's 7% of anything that they bring in.
Yeah.
Okay. Right.
And they've got a weird formula. So like if they have a long-term renter or some other things. So I'll send you the form so you can see how they equate that out in the instructions, but it's 7% off of their net revenues.
Do you have the ability to run a quick report of what everyone is paid in and then find an average? Or
We kind of can, but the problem is, so like HomeAway, Priceline, Airbnb, and VRBO sends us like a $10,000 check, and we have to try to match it to reports. So it's a little convoluted in that equation. We require them to send it in, but it's never quite, but we do have reports. So I'll figure out, but I don't know how many beds they offer.
yeah. Right.
And then with that, Brian, are you able, with the information, to also include, you know, how many people each of these facilities accommodates?
Yes. Oh, of course. Yeah. On the website, you mean, or?
No, just like, for example, like Abbey Road Farm, they have a capacity of 80 guests versus a VRBO that has a 7 guest capacity. So we can.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's where maybe the ratio or the equation we could figure out might be a little bit crazy for Abbey Road Farm, especially. I mean, unless they want to pay us $60,000. I mean, they're, you know, the number of people that they're accommodating is very high. And so it might be something where it ends up being, we find a flat rate that is equitable across the board. We don't overcomplicate it. But I was just trying to kind of approach it from how do we even start dissecting this?
Yeah. Okay.
And we'll send
Awesome.
you the last quarter of results so that you can see how it comes in, and you can get, it should be pretty close.
Great. All right. Well, that's what's on our agenda right now. And we have a little homework here for next time. So next time, definitely, if everybody could come with thoughts on how to charge the guests. And in the meantime, I will work on preparing samples for rack cards, or at least not even necessarily a sample, but for sure trying to get designer information that we can all discuss and talk about and move forward with that. And we have open time here. We're not required to go until any certain time, I don't believe, right, Christine?
You are not.
Okay, so, this is kind of one of those things where, in my mind, if we're done early, we can wrap up. If we go 5 minutes over one time, we go 5 minutes over. But in this scenario, if there's any other talking points or anything else anybody wants to discuss, it's a wide open forum for anyone to do so. All right, all good? Okay, well, that's very easy.
And when you're done, you would just call to move to adjourn.
Okay, I move to adjourn the November 3rd Tourism Committee meeting. Do I have a second?
Second.
Or do I just adjourn? Do I need to do anything
You'll
with
need a
that?
second.
Okay,
And Linda, I think.
Linda seconded. Okay, all in favor of adjournment?
Aye.
Hi.
Okay, great.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone. And
Thank you.
yeah,
Appreciate it.
we'll send you the rest of the information for the next meeting in the next packet.
Sounds great.
Right.
Thank you.
Thanks all.
Have a good night.
Bye.